Okay, we've got 5:06, so we'll go ahead and get started. May read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm may sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles. If you'd call the roll, please.
Ansley, Bowers.
Here.
Caskey.
Here.
Claybo. Here. Deshay. Monroe. Silverberg.
Here.
You have 5 present and 2 absent. You have quorum.
Chair would entertain a motion to set the agenda.
So moved.
Yes. All in favor? Agenda set. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. You should have a copy of the minutes in your packet.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Silverberg, Mr. Power. All in favor? Well, no public input. There's nobody here, so we'll move on to the old business. Under old business, we have the resolution to extend the committee. Right now, I don't know that we have enough information to warrant sending that forward to the January meeting. I'm trying to determine the pleasure of the committee on the resolution.
For the January?
Yeah, well, it would be January. That's, the commission is not going to meet again until January.
I agree with you.
Second. Ms. Silberg, second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, we will send that to the commission. I believe the agenda committee is January 12th.
January 12th.
August, good grief.
I'll have to change the date in it. I had the wrong date in it.
Okay. Under new business, I have an email from Charlene Deshay. She was supposed to be here. She said, I will be there. Also, I had a meeting with Mayor Mitchell and Greg McLean on Monday. This is dated November the 24th. No, she sent it on November 18th. So that must have been November the 16th she met. She says, I don't really have too much to report except Greg is setting up a meeting with his staff to talk about what it would take for us to partner. He is getting back with us soon. That is about it. So apparently they met, and Mr. McLean is supposed to get back with them after he talks with their staff. I will try to get in touch with her and follow up to find out. I'll also try to get in touch with the mayor and find out. I did contact quite a few of the private haulers, excuse me, and there were actually supposed to be a couple of them here. They said they were coming, and then they are not here, obviously. One of the interesting things that I did find out in talking to them, they have encountered the same issues that we've encountered. No outlet for glass. There are a couple that are trying their best to do recycling. the one on Old Chilhowie, is it Heaton? I think it's Heaton. I talked to her, Donna, I think it's her, Donna. I talked to her, and she said that after the article in the paper came out, she's adding anywhere from 1 to 6 customers a day, and they're just having a hard time keeping up with everything. So there is an interest out there, and I don't remember the other gentleman's name. I've talked to so many of them, but he's doing the same thing with him. They're having to transport it to Rock 10 or to Spectre or one of the other ones, and then they are having to pay for that. And Donna was telling me that it basically, she's not making anything off that. Basically, what she gets for it, it's basically costing her that to get it to Spectre or wherever she's carrying it to. And glass, she said she just doesn't have any way to deal with glass. So.
And they don't do a segregated collection either,
No.
I imagine. That makes it even
She
less.
said she has to do that herself.
Heaton provides a container.
Yes.
And either you can just put it in the container or you can put it in a garbage bag. I choose to do that just because it's easier for them just to grab the bag and go. But everything goes in the same container, and they'll do metals such as aluminum. I'm sorry. They'll do metals such as aluminum or tin. They do paper, cardboard, plastic, anything recyclable except glass.
And she did tell me that she goes to one of the local suppliers and buys the containers herself, and it takes her about 3 months to recover the cost of just a container. So she's trying her best to do, so she has priced all the same equipment that we did. She would like to have a baler to bale paper and cardboard and things, but it is cost prohibitive. Plus, she said out where she lives, she needs 3-phase electric, and she doesn't have it out there, so she can't even do that, even if she could get a grant to do so. So they run into the same problems that we've run into. So it seems to be a systematic thing.
That goes back to if the private sector could make money off of it, they would. I mean, that's the simple facts. If the market had the market for it, they'd be doing it. Somebody would be doing it. So.
And I think that was her point, is that they're barely getting by doing what they're doing. They're basically breaking even, yes.
I'd be surprised if they're breaking even because they just charge $5 extra a month. And
It's labor intensive.
it is, and so I would assume that they would be lucky to break even.
And she was saying to get a truck, they can't afford to buy a truck, so what they have to do is they get the body, and then they go over there, and her son is a welder or somebody, she gets a welder, and they weld, and they basically build her truck. So yeah, so I mean, you've got people out there trying to do this, and I assured all of them that I talked to that it was not our intent to negatively impact their business in any way. We were just trying to figure out the same thing that they're trying to figure out, is how to recycle. And where we go from here, I'm not sure. I was hoping Charlene would be here. We could hear about that discussion. So if there's any other discussion.
Does anybody have any idea what the per capita cost for Alcoa and Maryville is for their recycling programs? I mean, I know they have a cost. We would just divide it by the number of their citizens, but could we get that to maybe look at it? And maybe Charlene could get that information. Somebody can, or the chairman.
I thought Charlene had that information.
She did have some, she gave us some numbers. I don't know if it was per capita cost, but I was just wondering if we could look at a per citizen cost of running such a program.
So you're asking if we can find out what per citizen, what the cities spend
Right.
on their program.
Yeah,
And they're different because Alcoa does the curbside and Maryville does the.
right, they are different, but it'd be interesting to look at those numbers, you know, so that we could just kind of see, maybe give us some rough estimates. Of course, we're a county, they're cities, so it's gonna be a little different, but it still would be a good starting point to look at.
Any other discussion?
Without Charlene being here, there's not a lot to discuss. I mean, without. Yeah, over the holler.
Yeah.
Discussion I would have is, we're gonna send this, and this may be the wrong time for this, I don't know, we're gonna send to the January agenda meeting the possibility to extend this committee. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
There was some mention previously of that county that has their own equipment and does the glass. Is it possible for us to either go see that or just bring one of them in and come talk about what they, because I heard several ideas thrown out about what they may have been doing, but I never actually did hear what they actually were doing with their glass.
They have a glass crusher.
Okay,
They bought it and it's apparently, it's apparently paid for itself in about the first 2 years. And they crushed the glass. They sell some of it to the gentleman who was here. He buys some of that to.
Rock 10?
No, the,
That guy that made the countertops.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But they also use it, mix it with salt and as an aggregate for icy roads. And they use it in some of their public works as a mulch of sort. So they use, that's where the bulk of the weight goes to, because they have to do something with it once it's crushed. So they sell some and they use some for the highways and they use some for landscaping for the county government and things like that.
I saw an article, and I can't even remember any of the details, but I just remember that they were using crushed glass as a foundation to build a house. So, I mean, I don't know anybody around here that's done that. I just read this article. So I know that there's potential, but you have to have the equipment and transporting and all. It's so labor intensive and the cost. I mean, obviously, if you could get it straight from the landfill and grind it, I think it could be used for a lot of things. It's just that we'd have to get the startup cost. I mean, that's a lot of money to invest.
And they did say that they recouped the cost of that equipment, I think, in the first couple of years. So I don't know if that's still possible, but whatever they spent, I think they got it back within 2 years. But what their explanation was, their landfill filled up. So they had to start paying their neighboring county tipping fees. And when that started getting so high, then they bought the equipment, and that's how they recouped their money. And we're not necessarily in that situation because we have the landfill has a capacity for a decent while. So as I recall, that was their explanation, how they came about saying they recouped their costs.
And what county was that? Cumberland.
And what was their cost? I mean, the one gentleman implied that we could have bought like a used piece of equipment for a whole lot less than, so how much was their cost?
It seems, I talked to the gentleman in Cumberland County, this has been several years ago when I worked for the Hospital Community Health Initiative group, and we were talking about safety, and that was part of the thing that we talked about, was just recycling and how important it was to, just for the health and safety of the county to have that in place. And I talked to this gentleman, and right now I can't remember his name, and I don't have access to my emails any longer to pull that back up. But it was Cumberland County, and we do have to remember that their population is 50, 60,000, where ours is 125. So just the sheer volume is going to be so much greater with county our size. But it seems to me like, and please don't hold me to this, seemed to me like that their initial investment was somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000.
I think that might be pretty accurate, but the gentleman who we had in here said he thought he could pick up equipment that would be feasible for him to use at a much lower cost.
Mm-hmm. I guess my concern there is, of course, we don't have any buying power as far as that goes. My concern with that is when you start buying used pieces of material, do you have any kind of guarantee with that kind of equipment? Who's going to work on it if it breaks down and that sort of thing? So that would be my only concern there.
There's always additional costs. You have to have maintenance, you're going to have insurance, you have to have an operator.
Sure.
So you've got a lot of additional costs. Probably the cost of the equipment is probably going to be the least expense that you're going to have. Over time, yes.
My concern as well is, that's just one issue in the recycling conversation. That's glass, and
what I learned is that the individuals can recycle at the dump when they're taking stuff there. I didn't realize that until we started. I didn't even realize that the dump was doing recycling. So there's more recycling going on than I realized, but it's still underutilized, a lot of it.
We've got countywide, we have availability for cardboard, for paper, for plastics, even at Spectra. So the only thing that we're absolutely missing is the glass, and that's one of the tougher components of all of this. I mean, we at least have the ability, if you're interested in recycling, you can recycle most everything somewhere in the county except for glass.
Yeah, I think we just need to make the public more aware of what does exist too. Most of it. We're just not, I didn't even know. I recycle everything and didn't even know that we had a lot of the stuff that we have, so. And not to put Mr. Caskey on the spot, but I had heard the possibility that the county might cancel the contract that we had with Spectra for recycling at the schools. Have you heard anything about that, or is that still going on? Are they still recycling?
They are at the schools I go to. I have not heard anything. That would be a school board matter.
Okay. But as far as you know, it's still recycling. Everything's full steam ahead as far as,
The only thing we
normal, I should
cycle,
say.
the only thing we recycle is paper.
Okay.
That's the only thing. Now, I did have one gentleman tell me, he said glass, and he's over on the other end of the county from Miss Heaton. Or it may have been her, I don't know, I get them mixed up. Said that because of the inability to do anything with glass, he wonders why people keep buying glass, because you can get everything that you get in glass, you can get in plastic. And you can recycle plastic. But I did point out to him that the honey that I buy comes in glass, but you can reuse those jars for canning and things. So that was a good point, but he suggested, he said if you wanted to do something that would help, he said one collection center on each side of the city would help. And I think that was the direction that we were already headed in anyway, was trying to partner with the city to do that anyway, so.
And weren't we talking about trying to make at least the one near the hospital? That would be a first step, if we could partner with that. And if Rock 10, whatever their new name is now, if they would still allow the glass to be collected and single streamed or segregated. So that's still a possibility. The problem with that is it's not a long-term solution, because there's gonna be a cost involved in it at some point in time.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that there's gonna be a long-term solution until there's a solution to the glass problem. And I don't know, and nobody knows when that's gonna come about. Companies just don't want to recycle glass. And that I'm just not smart enough to understand that. I don't know. I would think, I don't know why you can't just crush it and melt it and reuse it. I don't know.
The one thing that I read was the process of, the risk of contamination was, one of their concerns were they had to get the temperature up to a certain heat so that any infectious materials, so if you're gonna consume something out of that, that's part of the process that has to, it makes it less than functional.
You would think that that same concern would exist with plastic, recycling plastic. I mean, how many disposable, like, medical things do we have that are plastic that you throw away? And, you know, potentially it is recyclable, but you throw it away because you had blood or saliva or whatever on it, you know. So I just tend to think that some of those same risks would exist with plastic. And you can't heat plastic to the level that, well, at least I wouldn't think you could. Glass, I would think you could heat glass higher. I mean, plastic would burn, I would think, where glass wouldn't at certain temperatures, so. But they must be using it for things beyond what I'm thinking, you know, it's not just going back and making the same plastic bottle over, it's probably being used for something totally different. I get it. I assume my husband's not listening at home, but for Christmas, I just bought him a new wallet, and it's made with a recycled motorcycle tire tube. You know, that's the base of it, and it has the stitching around the side. It looks cool. Made in the USA and out of recycled material. So, so I get, you know, these things, there are things out there, it just somebody has to kind of take the lead and, you know, find a use for it and make a profit off of it in the process too, so.
And when I spoke with the folks at Cumberland County, they implied, they stated that they use their crusher just 9 hours a month or something like that. It didn't take that long for them to process. And again, would be much larger, would have a more volume to deal with. But you almost wonder if we couldn't think about seeing if they would crush for us.
We could get it there.
Yeah.
Do they have a use for more than they're using?
And that's a good question. I mean, I wouldn't mind trying to get in touch with them again and maybe even going up there and just see it in person.
See if they have a need for it.
Mm-hmm. They were very willing to talk about their program, and they were pretty proud of it too. So I think they'd be willing to share what insight they have, and that might be, if you want, I will try to make further contact and try to have something to report on next meeting.
Next meeting, whenever that is.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, can't remember to do that. I got some information on the internet. I just Googled recycling, glass recycling in Cumberland County. And, and so, you know, there were some pictures and some explanation about what they were doing and that sort of thing. Segregation of colors. And now this has been a couple of years ago, so hopefully it's still there. I'm sorry?
Did it have volume numbers, like how many times or anything?
You know, I don't recall. I did get, that was where I did get information about the size of the county as far as population, and I knew there would be, you know, a larger volume for us. But I did get some information there with that. That was when I can't recall if I got the gentleman's name on that website or if I got that somewhere else. I mean, it's just been too long for me to recall that.
of the jagged edges and all that sort of thing, but, I mean, that's just a shot in the dark. I don't know if that's the case, but.
Like lawn cover and things, so it got ground, so,
They were They used it in playgrounds, so
Yeah.
that it was so smooth that they could use it for children and they wouldn't get cut. So,
Yeah.
but that's, the more expensive the equipment is to get that fine of a
That
product,
fine,
then.
yeah. right.
Sorry.
I'll dig around and see.
Who knows, maybe that's a business adventure.
Okay, one of the things that we have to look at, and I know there's this discussion about calling a meeting. The original resolution called for a meeting through November, issuing a report of findings in December. I'm not sure our original charter allows us to meet again past November. I'm thinking I'll have to get clarification on that, but I don't think that we can meet again outside of that original charter from the commission. I think we would have to get approval to extend the committee before we could have another call meeting. I will seek clarification on that, but we also have to write, we have to do our findings for the January meeting, which is the 12th, I think it is, for the agenda. So we will have, yes, for the 12th. So we will have to, yes, it's January the 12th, so we will have to have a report done by then on what we have found so far. I will seek clarification, but my understanding is the original resolution called for us meeting through November, issuing report December, so. I understand. Then we came back and amended that, and I think that sunsetted in November, I believe.
Who will you seek clarification from?
Probably the commission chairman, yes. But my understanding would be that you would have to have, the committee would have to be extended, the life of the committee would have to be extended so that we can meet again.
And that would require the action of the
Yes, that would require action of the commission on the resolution that we're going to send to January.
It says in here that, in the original resolution, that report back to the full commission by the August 2015 agenda committee meeting, and then we just struck out the word August and put December, so
Yes.
I don't think we're prohibited from meeting in December. It just said by the December 2015 meeting, so I don't think we're prohibited.
But that's why I want to get clarification.
It doesn't say, but, you know, good luck at getting everybody together in December to try to meet, and
That's
what are we
correct.
gonna accomplish if we did? Even if we could, I don't think that it's necessarily gonna solve our problems to do so anyway.
I wanted to ask the Mr. Chairman, would you contact Charlene and see if she has any information that she was going to share at this meeting? And if she could share that with us in email so that we might be better prepared, maybe in January if we meet again?
Yes, I'm going to follow up with her and the mayor and then try to find out what I'm.
That was key, like if she's got some information.
Yes, that's very important for us to have that information.
Right, so we could be thinking about presenting something possible.
Yes, I'm going to follow up with her tomorrow maybe before I leave.
If I'm not mistaken, I think she indicated that the city manager was going to talk to the key people in their office and see if they couldn't get some movement towards us partnering with the city of Maryville.
Yes, what she said is, I don't really have too much to report except Greg, Mr. McLean, is setting up a meeting with his staff to talk about what it would take for us to partner.
So hopefully we'll get some feedback.
Yes, and as soon as, and I will call her and follow up with her on that, find out where we're on that. And I'll try to call the mayor and find out about that. He may have followed up, I don't know. I'll just have to follow up and find out.
How should we proceed then about our report, pardon me, our report to the commission? Well,
Yeah, right now, it's kind of a vacuous report.
okay.
I think a lot of it's going to depend on what Charlene and what they have come up with right now on where we go. That was one of the driving forces behind us wanting to meet again next year on a quarterly basis, was to follow up and monitor the partnership with the city. So if that's not going to happen, then we may have to revisit that. Anything else? There's no public here, so no input on anything not on the agenda. Move to adjourn, second. We stand adjourned, and I want to thank everyone for their input and their help. Yes, have it.